Welcome back, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. Your OG home for Notre Dame prop bets is back for another season. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. We're back to make prop bets throughout the 2024 season and challenge our subscribers to do better than us. But rather than wait for the season opener, we've decided to start a week early with some regular season predictions. We've already open the voting on these 10 regular season prop bets for our subscribers on the Insider Lounge. Our season-long competition will reward the first place subscriber with a free 12-month extension of their subscription, and a second place gets 6 free months. If you want to compete, make sure you're a subscriber to InsideNDSports.com and submit your answers to the Google form that's available on the Insider Lounge. I'll also include a link to the thread in the video description below, and we'll continue that weekly for game weeks throughout the season. Our winner last season was Jeff R&R, and our runner-up was Rover 219. So one more shout out to those guys. Both of them did better than we did, but you're stuck listening to us on a weekly basis. Eric, what can you share that you did this offseason to improve your prop bet game?
I did curls and tricep exercises, and I'm hoping that'll do it. And I want to know what my prize is for beating you this year.
Well, we'll have to. I'm not really worried about that happening, so we can discuss down the line if that what sort of thing we need to put on the line here. Maybe I just put you in charge of doing all the place your bets graphics if you lose, and if not, I'll keep doing them.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right. Well, let's get into our prop bets for the season. And remember, these are only for the 12 games of the regular season. I didn't want to sort of have to account for the uncertainty of if they're going to play one bowl game, one playoff game, or multiple playoff games. So I felt it was easiest to sort of have some finality with these being regular season prop bets. So the first one I have for us, Eric, is over under 27.5 passing touchdowns for quarterback Riley Leonard.
Well, only 5 times in history has a Notre Dame quarterback had more than 27.5, and they've never had just 27.5. So I think Riley Leonard is going to be really productive, but I think there's going to be a lot of Riley Leonard rushing touchdowns that are going to cut into that total. So I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm going under as well. I think the running game, like you mentioned, will provide a fair share of touchdowns, including Leonard himself. So I can't go that high. Sam Hartman threw for 24 last season, and that was obviously 12 games as well because he didn't play in the bowl game. Jimmy Clausen threw 28 in 12 games in 2009. So I'm not sure that Riley Leonard can get to that level, so I'm going under. All right, next one. Over under 1,149.5 yards of total offense for running back Jeremiyah Love.
So when you say total offense, you mean yards from scrimmage, because total offense technically is passing and running. So I'm going over that. Audric Estime had almost 1,500 yards in 12 games last year, and I think Jeremiyah Love will do that, even sharing the ball a lot with Jadarian Price. I don't know that running backs 3, 4, and 5 are going to get as many carries as 3, 4, and 5 did last year. And just with him in the passing game, I like that number. I like him to beat that number. Over.
All right. Yeah, I'm going over as well. Audric Estime accounted for 1,483 last season. In 2022, when he was in a timeshare with Logan Diggs, he hit 1,055. I do think the number will probably end up being closer to that second number than Estime's last season. But I'm still going to go over for Jeremiyah Love. I think he's going to impact the game both as a runner and a receiver, and will be a big part of Notre Dame's offense this season. All right, next one. Who will lead Notre Dame in receptions?
There are a lot of choices here, and none of them I think really are going to sound crazy. You know, I considered Evans. I considered Faison. I considered Mitchell, considered a lot of people, Bo Collins, Jaden Thomas, and I settled with Jaden Greathouse.
Yeah, I'm going with Greathouse as well. It could go a number of ways, like you mentioned, but I think he's the receiver I have the most trust in. My sense is that Riley Leonard shares that sentiment. So, and probably the coaching staff as well. So I think Jaden Greathouse is going to lead the team in receptions. All right, next one, over under 65 or 650.5 rushing yards for Jadarian Price.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people wonder, is this 1A, 1B kind of thing? Is it 1 and 2? I think Price is an improved back. Just Love's improvement is going to be more pronounced, but I think Price is going to get opportunities. I don't know that he's going to go much over that 650.5 number, but I'm going to put him over.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. I looked at the Logan Diggs number from 2022 that I previously mentioned that season when talking about Jeremiyah Love in comparison to Audric Estime. Diggs rushed for 732 yards in 2022. I think Jadarian Price can get there. Like I do think this offense is going to have to run the ball a lot. I think there's going to be games where Notre Dame doesn't need to throw it as much and leans on its running game. So I think both of those running backs will have a lot of rushing yards. So I'm going over for Jadarian Price as well. All right, next, over under 1.5 starting left tackles for Notre Dame.
I'm going to go over, and somebody may say it's right at 1.5 starting left tackles based on some of the performances in training camp. But I'm going to go over. I think if Tosh Baker starts, I think he'll eventually get replaced during the year. Even if Anthony Knapp starts, there may be occasions later in the year where the line shuffles. I think Anthony Knapp's going to be pronounced throughout the season, but I think the safe bet is over on this.
Yeah, I think you have to go over. I think there's too much uncertainty about Notre Dame's offensive line, and particularly left tackle, to count on one. And even in a lot of cases, some guys get injured, and that doesn't matter who
right
or how good the left tackle is. So I think it's too much of a risk to take the under here. So I'm going over as well.
The other number I'll throw out is Knapp would be the 11th true freshman to start at least one game on the offensive line in the years that there have been freshman eligibility, which is all the way back to 72. Only one of those guys started every game that season, and that was Sam Young in 2006.
All right. Before we get to the rest of our prop bets, I wanted to take a moment to remind our audience about our new partner, Autograph. You can now find Inside ND Sports content on the Autograph app, which is free to download on Android and iOS devices. There are many cool tools and features in the app, including the daily replay, which summarizes the news from the previous day with links to content you may have missed. You can download the app using the QR code at the bottom of the screen here on YouTube, or by using the link listed in the video or podcast description. From there, go find our content in the Notre Dame community and make sure you use referral code INDS so Autograph knows that we sent you. All right, next one we have, Eric, is... Sorry, not that one. Who will lead Notre Dame in tackles?
I get a second chance at the reception. It's a trick question. I'm going to go with Jack Kaiser. I think he's going to play enough in that 5-man linebacker rotation. He's going to play all three positions at different times, I think, in different roles. He was incredibly productive with tackle totals when he had about half as many snaps as Maris Leofau did. So Jack Kaiser is my pick.
Yeah, this one I felt like might be too easy. Like I feel like Jack. I think you're thinking outside of the box if you don't take Jack Kaiser. I think he's been uber productive in his lesser roles in Notre Dame's defense, and I'm expecting him to certainly have an expanded one this year. So I think Jack Kaiser will lead Notre Dame in tackles, and it might not be particularly close. All right, next one, over under 3.5 sacks for nose tackle Howard Cross III.
Well, Riley Leonard wishes it was one less last year. I think he had 2 last year, and one of them was tackling Riley Leonard and injuring his ankle. I just think there's too many people that can get sacks. There's too much rotation on the defensive line for that number to get over 3.5 for Howard Cross. I think he's really good. I mean, he's very quick, but for me, it's a no. I'm going under on that.
Yeah, it's hard to count on interior sacks, so I'm going with under as well. I expect him to create plenty of pressure, and certainly wouldn't be terribly surprised if he surpasses that number, but it's hard to rely on that. So that's what led me to go into under.
Right. And Notre Dame doesn't play a whole bunch of teams that are really bad at protecting their quarterback this year either.
Sure.
Stanford is one that stands out, but I'm not sure that there's a whole lot other than them.
All right. Next one, over under 5.5 interceptions for safety Xavier Watts.
I wanted to say over. I've always been a big Xavier Watts fan, I guess, for lack of a better term, or at least appreciator is a good, probably better term. I just think interceptions are so random sometimes. Xavier has a knack of being in the right spots. I just think the interceptions will balance out. I think Christian Gray's going to get some, Ben Morrison, the other safeties, some of the linebackers. Who knows? Boubacar Traore may get one. But I think it's just going to be slightly under when we're talking 12 regular season games.
Yeah, I think that's the right logic, but I'm going the other way. I think Xavier Watts, it's just too hard to avoid him. And because Notre Dame's secondary is so good, I think that only increases the opportunities that Xavier Watts may have. I think it's hard to consistently get high numbers in interceptions, as we saw with Benjamin Morrison last year. It's not like Benjamin Morrison played poorly, but his interceptions number decreased from his freshman to sophomore year. It's not going to be easy for Xavier Watts to get back to 7 or even 6, but I'm going to predict that he can. All right. Will Notre Dame return a kickoff for a touchdown this season?
So last year, Marshall, where Jaden Harrison played, was the third best team as a team in kickoff returns. Notre Dame was fourth. Jadarian Price had 1. Jaden Harrison had 2. We don't know yet that Price will be paired with Harrison, but I feel pretty good about them getting at least 1. So yes, I'm going a yes on that, or over, or whatever I'm supposed to say.
Yes, I think is the correct
over
terminology. 0. Over 0 or yes, either is acceptable. Yeah, I think Notre Dame went out and got Jaden Harrison for a reason. And if you're going to have Jaden Harrison on your team, I don't think you're going to be super conservative with touchbacks or fair catches in the kick return game. So Notre Dame sees an opportunity there, and I think we'll try to exploit it. Now, the number of kick return opportunities for Notre Dame might not be that high because of Notre Dame's strong defense, but I do think that Notre Dame will still return a kickoff for a touchdown. All right, our last regular season prop bet. Over under 3.5 missed field goals by Mitch Jeter.
I think that's way too high of a number, even with what we've seen in practice, because there's been days we've seen him miss a couple. He's only missed a couple in his college career. Now, that only encompasses 2 seasons as the number 1 option at South Carolina, but 23 out of 25. I think he'll be tried in longer situations. I think we may see like a 53-yard attempt or something. And that, again, he's got plenty of leg. It's not whether it would be short, it's whether he's accurate. And he's got a new snapper, new holder, new special teams coach, but I think 3.5 is too high. I'm going under.
I'm going over. I don't expect it to be a bad year for him, but I just think all the variables make it more difficult. You mentioned the holder, the snapper, and I just think it's different kicking in the Midwest in the fall than the South. I think he's going to.
He's going to be kicking in the South next weekend.
Well, yeah, but we're not
he's
just
kicked there twice already.
We're not just doing the A&M game. I think there's maybe some inclement weather that he'll have to face that could maybe impact his ability to be as accurate as he was in his two seasons as the starter at South Carolina. So I'm going to buck the trend and go with over. All right, Eric, that is it for Place Your Bets. We'll be back next week with our prop bets for the A&M game. Certainly, you can catch us on YouTube with Football Never Sleeps and the Inside ND Sports podcast. But that'll be it for us with our regular season predictions. I know this is going to be a long time coming that we're going to have to keep track of these, but I'm looking forward to seeing how we do and probably laughing at how bad at predicting we were a few months later. So best of luck to everyone with your predictions. Make sure you get them submitted by next Wednesday, and we'll talk to you soon.